It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here in this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Man, I tell you, this North Korea situation is off the charts. And I thought back to Lindsey Williams, who 2 years ago on the show, well, really 3 years ago, he from his source, I know who his source is, has been a Bilderberg attendee before, former head of one of the big three oil companies. You can say what you want about Lindsey Williams. I think he's a good guy. A little repetitive sometimes, but aren't we all? But I know who his sources are. One of them's dead now. And it's just an interesting window into things because this was before they even shifted one of the big fleets to the Pacific. He was saying 3 years ago, wish I had the staff to dig all this up, but you heard him, that, Alex, do not worry about the destabilization in the Middle East. Bad imitation. But when they move into Asia and North Korea, that is the big one, he said. And maybe it's not going to happen now, but I'm telling you, it is wild what's going on. And then about a year after he started saying that, they shifted the main fleets over to the Pacific. And now it turns out the West has secretly met the United States back in March with the North Korean leadership. Dr. Steve Pieczenik, who I think is back in the U.S. today. We need to get him to pop in to talk about this. But Paul Watson has the article up at Infowars.com today. Who gave North Korea nukes in the first place? And it gets into ABB and Donald Rumsfeld, obviously being the ones that did that. The U.S. government and the CIA. But again, the U.S. government has been taken over by the New World Order. So the New World Order, it's not like the U.S. government's coming after our guns. The captured collaborator U.S. government, which isn't the U.S. government anymore. I mean, I keep trying to explain this. Just because a hijacker conks the pilot on the head and puts on his uniform and walks out and says, I am now the pilot. I am taking you to Iran. I mean, everybody knows that's not really the pilot. But when you have one of these soft coups, foreign corporate espionage, infiltrations, corporate takeover, I mean, that's really what the New World Order is. It's a corporate takeover of the planet of anti-free market monopoly combines who happen to have a belief system in eugenics and who want to live forever. Duh, who wouldn't? Especially when you're worth billions of dollars, control trillions. You've got everything. What are they obsessed with? Living longer, and they don't like seeing crowds of people. They disdain the dumbed-down public who they've helped dumb down. And, I mean, always the public is simple-minded on average compared to good, very smart people and bad, smart people. I mean, good, smart people want to build up the dumb people, want to help their brethren. Bad, smart people want to kill you. And let me explain something to the public. You're begging for it. You're begging for it. You're begging for it. You are begging for it. I go down to Barton Springs sometimes and swim. In the last month, they haven't changed the big clock for swimmers. The time's wrong and the hour's wrong. And I keep telling them, and they can't even understand me what that means. And I'm seeing signs of this everywhere. I call it mass zombiosis, or people going into a trance. And it's intensifying. And let me tell you something, nothing against Californians, because some of the most awake people I know are in California because they're around a bunch of zombies. But I see videos, and I've been out in California, and you talk to the general public, they don't even hardly know how to talk. And I predict, in fact, this is already happening, the language has shrunk. In fact, Chris, print me something about language shrinking, amount of words being used shrinking. There's a bunch of articles on that. That people will even stop talking soon. And then they'll stop going out, and then they'll stop eating, and then they're going to die. In fact, it's already happening in South Korea, the most connected country in the world. People just watch TV or play video games. Every week you see it in the news till they die. And this is the big secret. We're going to talk about it today. Monday through Friday, from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, we are here live, and we're not turning away. We're not watching humanity go down the tubes, collapse under mind control into mass zombie state without a fight, ladies and gentlemen. I stand for truth, justice, and liberty worldwide. I stand for the spirit of 1776 worldwide that trumps 1984 all day and all night. But you must first become animated with the animating contest of liberty. You know what I love in life? I love real people. I love people that aren't fake, and I love people that are animated with the spirit of liberty. And you talk to somebody who's animated, who has energy, who is bubbly, you just want to be around them. They're amazing. And then you get around the general public, more and more act like lethargic sloths that have had electrochemical lobotomies. And, I mean, it's getting worse and worse and worse. And every generation talks about young people. And we've got one of the most awake, focused, dynamic, amazing groups of young people that I've ever seen in my life, seeing my generation and looking at older generations and experiencing several younger generations before me. We have some of the most awake, dynamic young people ever, but that's a minority. The majority of them love being sloths, love being pathetic, wear their ignorance like a sheet of armor, and basically don't even know how to wipe their noses. And the New World Order is not going to just let you sit around and draw welfare and lay around all day. Okay, they're going to get you on the government dole for a while. They're going to give you government jobs to run our lives. And then once they've got everything fully collectivized, they're going to shut everything off incrementally. And they're going to start giant wars, and they're going to release bioweapons and say they're natural plagues. And the vaccines they give you are going to further brain damage you and engage in real electrochemical lobotomies with the nanotech anti-stress vaccines they're coming out with. That's what they're called, which some evidence, it's not just television and flicker rate putting people into a trance state. I've talked to a lot of people I know that have taken especially the H1N1, and they're different people. They're not just had their IQs lowered. They aren't real anymore. And I've recognized this enemy operation for at least a decade, reading different MIT papers and things, but it's already happened. So, and Bill Gates is coming out with food, clothing, chemtrail sprays. He's funding geoengineering that has vaccines in it. It's on their website. They're putting hundreds of millions into that. How to manipulate your gut flora without you knowing. I mean, they're very public about programming us, and it's an incredible war crime against humanity. But their propaganda is in ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, CNBC, the cover of Costco magazine, just Time magazine, Newsweek, just everywhere I look. Bill Gates loves you. He's an angel. So people say, what do you mean he's an angel? I mean, thank God for Bill Gates. Well, okay, go take his shots then. I mean, never mind that they had 60-something thousand kids get paralyzed off the shots in India last year alone. And it's a minor footnote. We're not calling it polio, though. We call it a type of paralysis. Truth is, they didn't get rid of polio. Neurological disorders and paralysis is at record highs. They just don't hype it up. You see, there's the difference. You can have 200, 300,000 deaths from infections. It varies every year in hospitals. You can have 200 and something thousand from drug overdoses in hospitals. You can have a couple 100,000 from doctor error every year. I mean, it's well over 800,000 people a year dying one way or another from medical neglect or abuse or different variants of that, malpractice. And just going into these hospitals and facilities that are just have the most powerful drug-resistant, radiation-resistant, chemical-resistant bugs you can imagine. I mean, insects that have been pesticided within 3 or 4 generations almost always become somewhat immune or resistant or completely resistant to poisons. Or you can put poison right on them and they don't die. What do you think happens with bacteria and viruses? By the way, though, in that is the key to our salvation. Because I want to explain something. Humans are the most dynamic, powerful, intelligent, incredible, enlightened, beautiful, transcendent creatures this planet has. That's why they tell you you're ugly, you're bad, you're no good all day, so you don't figure that out. So that you just imagine you're this ball of scum who embraces your weakness because you were told you were weak. You see, that's even your own adaptation manipulating you. The New World Order is not going to be able to shut all of us down. Their viral cocktails aren't going to work on all of us. And believe me, the subconscious drives the conscious, and the brain is connected through the spinal cord to the rest of your body. And the mere fact that I'm talking about how you're under attack right now, even if you're a jellyfish consciously, I am commanding jellyfish right now, spineless people. I am commanding you. I am commanding you through your instincts, through your ancestors, through your common sense. And, of course, God is commanding you through your spirit to activate right now and launch defenses. And believe me, the defenses are launched. So the globalists have got a big problem on their hands, okay? Because there is autopilot, ladies and gentlemen. They know about the autopilot. They're trying to program it. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. You've already failed. And by the way, most of the globalists have already figured that out. I'm seeing major signs in the power structure of internal civil war and people trying to reverse it, and children of elite families understanding now, you're not going to screw up humanity and get out of this. The only way you're going to be able to attain the true gifts of the Creator, which is all this technology, genetic engineering, all of it. We are creators, little C creators, to the big C creator. We're made in the image and likeness of God. Okay? I mean, take a look at what we can do. Just got chills right there. Just got chills right there. And with what we do sends out ripples. You know, I shouldn't get mad that within 3 days of us breaking major news, every single day, Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh, you name it, Sean Hannity are covering it, and more they can't even spin it because their audiences demand the truth. And plus, deep down, they don't want to sell people out. Deep down, they have a survival instinct for their families, their children, their wives, the people they love. You see, that's why they want to make you automatons and have, quote, zero tolerance and everything, where cops are robots, where teachers are robots, where you don't have any discretion. Because they want you to be a robot. You see, that's where all this is going. That's why they're trying to replace us with robots. I mean, I always feel like I should do more. I always feel like I should work harder and stay up late and shoot videos when I'm exhausted that aren't as effective as when I'm actually, you know, energized doing it. And it just really came to me this morning in one of the most azure blue skies I've ever seen, with spring breaking, with manifest beauty, to be on this planet staring out into the heavens. I mean, just incredible. That I have already succeeded and you have already succeeded. Because the greatest victory is not even getting personal attention. The greatest victory is not yourself being famous. That's actually a cross to bear. But true, real power to do good is when you can do something and have everyone come think they're stealing it and take it and actually put it out to everyone, and to be able to change human destiny for good. And to be involved, being able to blow the whistle every single day on things that I think are important and that my crew thinks is important, and then others who resonate with it who think it is important. And it's like the fire of Prometheus. I revel in giving not from the Greek occultic perspective, but it's still a good analogy, the fire of liberty, the fire of awakening, the fire of truth, the fire of building people up and seeing them soar, that is such an amazing thing. And it's why it's so alien to me that other people don't want to build others up and see them soar because they're threatened by it. That's why the only person in mainstream dominant media who I've seen that doesn't try to dominate and shut down other people is Matt Drudge of the Drudge Report, who has given InfoWars the fire of Prometheus. We had already given many the fire of Prometheus on a smaller level, and it had set brush fires across the planet. But Drudge and others have given us a greater fire. And so now Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, this syndicated show, even when it's not on DrudgeReport.com, as one of our stories is today, it is now picked up by conservative circles, libertarian circles, and is read word for word with no credit. And I don't even really mind that when Limbaugh and Hannity do it. Savage gives us credit now. When Beck does it, it's irritating only in that he's tried to hurt us and shut us down and block us while streaming what we're doing. I mean, listen, this show is the Glenn Beck show now. I mean, you understand, I'm his teleprompter writer. But I'm writing directly out of history and research and the force of liberty that flows through me. It's amazing. All right, I'll get into the North Korea situation straight ahead. That's right, even while we sleep, they live. Alex Jones here, back live. Thanks for tuning in today. Be sure and spread the word about the local AM and FM stations you're listening to and support their local sponsors. So we are fighting an uphill battle, but we have the people on our side, and so the agenda of liberty is moving forward faster than ever. All right, coming up, I'm going to get into the police state news, the economic news, the incredible Second Amendment news, where they are trying to ram through anti-gun legislation without anyone being able to read the bill. Of course, they're saying Harry Reid promised to let us have amendments, but he lied. It's like saying, Satan promised not to lie to me, but he did. People go, I can't believe Biden doesn't understand why we want guns to protect ourselves from criminals and the government. Biden says he doesn't understand why we want guns. Why doesn't he understand? Of course Biden understands. He owns a bunch of guns on record and has bodyguards. He's a gangster. He's got a criminal instinct, an animating contest of evil. He doesn't like you. He wants to dominate you. He's from the dark side, big time. Big time. Big time. Big time enemy. Big time bad. Big time eat your lunch. Big time usurp everything you've got. But it's virtuous to roll over to tyranny. No, it's not. I mean, look at this right here. Paul Watson did the article today. You need to make this go viral. It's up on Infowars.com. Bill Clinton, the UN, and Donald Rumsfeld. If anybody's like the devil and appears in a poof of smoke, I would imagine it'd be Donald Rumsfeld. I mean, that guy commences. That guy MCs over like all the key evil. He's just as important as Henry Kissinger as Zbigniew Brzezinski. I mean, that guy's been around since right after L.L. Lemnitzer got kicked out by Kennedy. He came in right after that. Mr. False Flag. Who gave North Korea the nukes in the first place? U.S. government and CIA on record. Just like in a few years when Al-Qaeda's attacking us, and so they're doing proctology exams on you and your family on the highway, not just the airport. It'll be because of Al-Qaeda and other groups. You'll be like, oh, our government put Al-Qaeda in charge in all these countries. Oh, shut up, conspiracy theorists. Now, remember, everybody knows that now, but by then it won't be politically correct to admit that. But the whole article goes over the admission. Now, they have revealed in a leaked intelligence report, which means they did it on purpose, that North Korea states that it has nuclear war is unavoidable as it declares first target will be Japan. So they're saying that, and the intelligence report says that Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, they do have nuclear weapons and can hit Japan and South Korea. Okay, so that is what has now come out, and China has been massing troops for weeks on the border there, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the facts. And North Korea is now saying that they will hit Japan first. And they're saying nuclear war is unavoidable. If somebody says, I'm going to come over to your house and shoot you, it's unavoidable, and I'm coming over to shoot you, I have every right to have you arrested, and if you come to my house, to kill you in self-defense. But notice that's not happening. And notice the Pentagon has been secretly meeting with North Korea. In the last month, this guy was raised in Switzerland. And remember, the global crime syndicate manipulates the communist Chinese, put them in power in '49, moved all our industry there. They manipulate the EU. They manipulate our Pentagon. They run our country. And so, understand, they clearly, more and more I realize, and I'm going to get Pieczenik on about this to get his take, are actually running this whole thing. It doesn't mean they control them. It means that they have made some deal behind the scenes, I believe, to give them oil and a bunch of other food and stuff if they do this. So Bauer break, Kerry on the scene. Congressman, they have nukes. Kerry contradicts intel report. Pentagon deploys sea radar. We're going to be breaking all this down. We've got excellent coverage at Infowars.com. Also excellent coverage over at DrudgeReport.com. But why is this happening now? I'm going to get into this and then into the globalist master plan and a lot more. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Alex Jones, your host. It is Friday. I'll be back this Sunday live, 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Ben Swann, the very popular Fox News reporter from a Fox affiliate here in the U.S., has left his job, and you're going to discover why in the next hour. Very popular online, a listener of this radio show, took the reports, took the ideas, did his own ideas, and really had an effect, and he's leaving there. I know behind the scenes, well, I'm going to let him tell the story. Okay, because I know a few months ago, I wanted to have him on, and they told him, you're not allowed to go on that show. Which is funny, you know, they're putting ads on those videos online that we're getting seen millions of times in some cases. But you don't like local Fox affiliate being on Infowars.com? You don't like being on DrudgeReport.com? You don't like 1 million people coming to your website when your other videos had like 1,000 people coming to them? No, you don't like somebody exposing the private Federal Reserve or the New World Order. I went through the same stuff. On Access TV, they tried to kick me off. And then they tried to kick me off local radio. And I was like, well, I have ratings. I'm bringing in money. And they're like, well, you know what? You're going to shut up or you're fired. And I was like, I thought as long as I was successful and we're not getting sued and I can prove what I'm saying, I'm allowed to be on the air. They said, no New World Order, Federal Reserve, or Bill Clinton. In fact, you do that, maybe we'll give you a raise. Now come out to a company party with us. And I went to the company party, but I didn't shut up. So they said, you're fired and you'll never be on the air. I was already on the air out of my house on a little Patriot network jacked into a satellite on more than 10 stations. And those delusional people couldn't believe it. You see, that's why I hate monopolies, and I hate the folks that engineer the system and think they're going to control things. They don't control things. The White House doesn't control the narrative anymore, and they bemoan that. They attack the alternative media, chief among it, the Drudge Report. Because we can show you videos of where they say, yeah, once we register, we're going to confiscate the guns. And what did the White House say? We hate it when our people speak out of turn and let out the plan. So that's why no one in the media is allowed to talk to any of our people in government. That's why the president doesn't really have press conferences anymore, and it's why we don't talk anymore. It's because of Drudge. The enemy can't even effectively have their propagandist out there talking, because when one of the mayors against gun violence, as they call it, Mayor Bloomberg's anti-American seditious group, gets up in Austin. He says, we're going to register now and take the guns next. That video goes viral, and they're in trouble. Because you guys love to brag, we're here and we're going to show it. And they can't, and listen, they can't get us all. I want other people to duplicate what we've done. I want other people to start their own local radio shows and then put them on the internet and then do what we've done nationally, internationally, locally. And then once you become successful locally, I suggest you do it locally first, because that's where there's a real audience for fighting corruption. Because, see, we're covering national, international, and there's almost a glut of that now at certain levels. You need to cover what's happening locally, then that will become national. I'm consulting for you out there, America. What did the head of the Veritas Project a few days ago, O'Keefe, say? He said he's writing a book coming out. We're going to sell it about how to do what he's done as a real citizen journalist that brings down federal operations. Akron was getting something like $6 to $10 billion a year. He blew that operation into 1,000 political pieces. Low tech for a couple $1,000s. Folks, I literally pioneered what they do by necessity. Reinventing old-fashioned muckraking with the internet. I'm giving you solutions. The next issue of the magazine is going to be about solutions. And basic ways to fight these tyrants. If you'll just go to globalist meetings that are public, anti-gun, land-grabbing stuff, they'll sit around if you just sit there and act like you're them going, yeah, we're criminals, we're going to steal everything. I mean, that's who they are. You can walk into one of these so-called liberal offices and go, hey, let's kidnap kids. And they'll be like, yeah, let's murder them too. I mean, it's like the Akron stuff where, yeah, I'm bringing in little kidnapped girls to sell them as sex slaves. Oh, great. Yeah, we love that. That's a wonderful thing. I'm telling you, these people are so evil. See, most people who figured out the general public are zombies and don't even know what's going on, most people figure that out and go, well, I'm going to rob them. I'm going to steal from them. And once they get a corrupt police force in charge, you can't touch anybody within the city corruption or the corporate corruption. Because, well, that'll bring down the whole system. They're like made men. Those of us that stand down to corruption make all these low-level criminals like made men. And why would you be made in the Italian mafia? Because if you went after that person, a whole organization would come after you. It's like Scientology, where people are scared to go after them because they'll come after you. Even they went after the federal government, when the FBI, CIA, they went after them, broke into their offices, reportedly, did dirty tricks. People are scared of Scientology, and it's something L. Ron Hubbard set up as a joke for tax exemption just because they had what Tony Montana calls huevos. And I don't break them for nobody. Well, what if good people didn't back down? What if good people got aggressive? And I'm not talking about breaking into the FBI, but just said, come and take it. But more than come and take it, we go out and we take over. We get aggressive. Those two guys in Austin that went to that anti-gun rally, they came over and a woman slapped one of them in the back. Another guy poked him in the leg, got cussed at him. They stood their ground. The police tried to act like the Patriots had done something wrong, led by Aceveda, who's going to be in here next Friday, he says. We'll see. And just because they did that, just because they went out there and held up signs saying no gun ban, the enemy said, you bet, you'll need that sign soon, because after we register, after we do what we're doing now, we're going to make that sign a reality. So you keep that sign, you're going to need it. And the guy smiled, the little Hispanic version of Dr. Evil. I guess the Hispanic mini-me. Sits there and points at him and says, I'm going to get your guns. What an outrageous King George III statement. I mean, what a just Santa Ana, I'm going to get your guns. Just outrageous, like, I'm going to get them. Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in. If you don't engage the enemy, you don't show their strength, you don't show their fire, the cattle won't even know there's a war going on. Engaging the enemy, showing up, getting on the field. You may not be a great fencer the first time you go fencing. You may not be a great wrestler the first time you go and wrestle. You may not be a good boxer the first time you go boxing. But I'll assure you, you get in the arena, you're going to get better and better and better and better. And folks, I'm just telling you, I'm in the arena. And I may be stumbling around and bleeding and falling over sometimes, and it may even be a spectacle. But you know what? I'm in the arena. I'm in the arena all the way. Get in the arena. This is a fight with authoritarians and all their slime. They make me sick. You had a neighbor you'd caught stealing potted plants out of your backyard, and you came over to their house and said, Bill, that looks like my potted plant right there. In fact, that's a planter we bought in Mexico. I doubt you, because he's, oh, that's mine. Oh, I've had that for years. No, I thought, you know, that looks like a plant we bought 5 years ago in Mexico. I mean, that's a pretty, in a small town. I think that's an original, you know, little deal. I bought it from a shop where they were there making them by hand. No, it's not. No, it's not. Well, I don't appreciate you saying that to me, that I stole that. You would loathe that person because they were such a despicable liar. And you'd say, okay, you go ahead and you keep that. Of course, all you do is when you finally move out, a few years later, you just go over and take the potted plant back. That's actually a true story. I guess the only thing, I said I stole beer out of golf carts. I guess I have stolen my own stuff back before. Anyways, getting back to what I'm saying here, ladies and gentlemen, is that there are people who just want to steal for no reason. My dad used to tell me when I was a kid, there's people who'd rather steal a quarter from you than make $100. And I go, why, Dad? And he goes, because they're losers. Because that's the way they are. They think they win by stealing something from you. I've seen people I've worked with, built up, put on the radar so many times just do the Oedipus complex and make stuff up about me and attack me and go after me or take my faults and exaggerate them because they imagine that that's how they build themselves up. That's how you become a big man. No, you build a community and you work with people and you get a name that's trusted, and then everyone who's a winner wants to work with you. When you attack people and lie about them, then only losers want to work with you. And my God, that's a bad fraternity to be in. And it's the same thing with government and bureaucracy. I mean, Homeland Security is saying gun owners, veterans are the #1 terror threat. And if that wasn't enough, they doubled down. They quadrupled down. They infinity'd down and said, gun owners, veterans, you're not just the ultimate terrorist. No, it's all Catholics and all evangelicals, and put them next to Al-Qaeda, and the Army is taught that. And then that freaked everybody out when that, see, because I reported this a decade ago. Now it's in Fox News, so now it's safe for the state police in Colorado to go, yeah, we're in meetings saying we need to confiscate guns from the Christians, and will we do it? This is kind of creepy. Kind of creepy? I mean, you're in a room with enemy foreign operatives who've taken over. I mean, it's like aliens landing or something, or Nazis taking over France. You're in a room, I mean, right there, that's the bad guy, obviously. Oh, and by the way, we're taking a survey. This came out yesterday. Will you confiscate guns from Christians? We see them as a problem during gun confiscation. And the state police, this is your moment, folks, when the evil is just, the devil takes off the nice guy suit, and it's the devil in a red pajamas with a forked tail going, hi, I'm the devil. Hello. And you going to work for me, aren't you? Everybody's sitting there going, this is pretty crazy. I mean, it wasn't enough to badmouth George Washington. It wasn't bad enough to badmouth Thomas Jefferson. It wasn't bad enough to say returning veterans will attack every police department in America with IEDs. Remember that 5 years ago? And I'm like, here's this secret document. I was sent by a federal marshal. They're teaching him that every department will be attacked. Let me check this document. I've confirmed it's real. You know, the feds were hopping mad when I called them that I had it, and quite threatening. Police, are you being trained that veterans will attack your department, with IEDs in the near future? Open the phones up, every cop calls in. Yeah, they trained us on that last year. We thought it was crazy. That's why cops listen to the show and are just immediately listeners, because they hear it and they go, yeah, I was told that. How's he know that? Ladies and gentlemen, there isn't long to turn this around, okay? If you give in to these bullies, it's over. And they are completely out of control. You know, I said I'd get to all these reports. I said I'd get to the true nature of the New World Order. And I don't do this on purpose. Guys, you've got to make me do it at the start of the third hour. And because I want to talk about their master plan, where they're going, what they're going to do, what's going to happen, how they've dumbed people down. Because that's the key. That's the heart. That's the central area to all of this, is that we are entering a period in society. We are entering a period in our culture where everything is going to accelerate downhill. And the establishment has done the actuaries. They believe they've got a big enough group of people that are so dumbed down. I mean, I saw a Mark Dice video. We're going to play it coming up in the next segment, where he goes out and says, will you confiscate? You know, are you for people being arrested if they own guns? Are you for banning guns? And the people, most of them, signed the petition to do it. And so I'm going to go out and see if Austinites are that dumbed down. But I mean, that, and then he went on and said, did you hear about the U.S. nuking China, blowing up their 2 biggest cities last week? And people are like, no, I didn't hear about it and I don't care. I mean, that is how dangerously selfish and disconnected and lazy the public's gotten. But globalists, just because you have dumbed down the general public, just because you've been so successful in turning them into zombies and even lowering their brainwaves and reducing the amount of words they use. I've got all the studies I'm going to cover in the third hour on this front. Just because you've been able to do that doesn't mean there aren't 70 million guns sold in just the last couple of years. Over 150 million gun owners. I see statistics like 35 million gun owners. I saw that like in the New York Times last week. What a lie. Like, oh, it's a minority. It's 35 million gun owners. Ladies and gentlemen, there are estimated 400 million guns of new manufacture since the 1930s. That's considered, you know, modern era. I mean, you can pull up these numbers. It varies. Some are 400, 500 million. But let's just be conservative. Okay, 400 million guns. And most people, when they get a phone survey, do you own a gun? They say, none of your business, or no. Because they don't trust the system. They know it's bad. They know it's crooked. Our numbers are much greater, so also understand that. So I want to tell the power structure something which you're fully aware of. Just because you think you can get a bunch of sheep to vote to take our guns and vote to take our bank accounts and vote to take our private property because they think they're going to get a piece of it, A, will collapse the society faster than you even think, and B, there will be what you call collateral damage. There will be a civil war, the likes of which you've never seen. And I know you believe you're going to have it and control it, and this will be your decisive war, and you've billed Obama as Lincoln II, but this is not going to work the way you think it is.
And what we need to do is change the way in which people think about guns, especially young people. One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
I mean, is it a free society to turn on sitcoms, dramas, news, and all they do is demonize the family, fathers, guns, liberty? This is an authoritarian group. This is a scientific takeover. Well, the liberty-loving star of the local Fox News channel that became like a national Fox channel because of his research is going to be joining us, telling us why he's really leaving and where he's going to be going. Ben Swann coming up. I'm going to get into North Korea here again in a moment, but I want to tell you about efoodsdirect.com/Alex. If you go there, you can find all of their weekly and monthly specials that they are currently running. You can also click on the links at Infowars.com, and that will take you to the specials. But there at efoodsdirect.com/Alex, you will find 25% off the Liberty and Freedom 1-year food supply special. We also drop ship out of our shopping cart for the same prices if you want to get it at InfoWarsStore.com. Stores up to 25 years. Quick and easy to fix meals. Be prepared for any emergency. Very portable, best tasting, portable foods out there. and they're patriots that also support liberty and freeze rising food costs by buying and storing now. efoodsdirect.com/Alex or 800-409-5633. Ask about all the Alex Jones specials, 800-409-5633. And I did a lot of research. That's where I've been getting my storable foods for about 6-7 years. And you'd be crazy if you don't have them. Also, InfoWarsHealth.com has some specials running right now. You can always sign up for auto ship and get free shipping. That's a big discount at InfoWarsHealth.com. And don't forget, shopping and supporting patriots and liberty lovers and those that get the truth out is funding the revolution against the globalist revolution of tyranny. So InfoWars. Store.com for all the books, videos, T-shirts, all of it. Subscribe to the monthly magazine. Give it as a gift subscription. Shopping with the Patriots, shopping with the good guys, shopping local, supporting our local AM and FM affiliates, becoming sponsors. You can also give InfoWarsTeam.com a call. The great crew here, 888-789-9277, 888-789-9277. Or, again, ladies and gentlemen, InfoWarsHealth.com or InfoWarsTeam.com if you want to work with us and be a distributor of the best health products out there, bar none. InfoWarsHealth.com, InfoWarsTeam.com. And don't forget Pro Pure water filters, discounted. The best stainless steel gravity-fed filters, the lowest price with the promo code WATER at InfoWarsStore.com as well. Okay, getting back into North Korea, and we got Pieczenik. He finally got back from the DMZ. Now he can speak more. He was kind of off record. He was being cased and saying stuff like, "I've already put my life on the line in combat 8 times, and in other spy operations. So if something happens to me, that's fine. I'm willing for something to happen to me." So he's probably listening right now. I'm not making fun of his voice, doing an imitation. You can do an imitation of me, too, if you want. But he's going to be popping in for about 15 minutes at the end of the 3rd hour today because he was saying it's a false flag. It's a false flag. It's a false flag. I can't say more than that. I've talked to Special Forces, Delta Force. I can't say much more than that. There's 3 CIA when I was just getting breakfast sitting around me at the restaurant. I got to watch it, Alex. They're listening right now, Alex. They're breaking into my email, Alex. So when he comes on, he's really a famous Black Ops guy. Camp David, founding Delta Force, writes Tom Clancy books. He's a very interesting character. Man, he's going to be popping in because here's Paul Watson's article. Look at this. Lawmakers drop bombshell. North Korea may have nuclear missiles. Well, no, the intelligence report doesn't say that. It says they've got A-bombs. Everybody knows that. But they can only hit Japan and South Korea. That's a public assessment by the British, everybody else. I've been saying it for months. Because I do my research. I'm not bragging. They've got atomic weapons. Let me say it again. They've got atomic weapons. The private groups, when they do tests in Japan, private universities are able to pick up, even though they're underground tests, it comes out the tunnels, they're able to pick up the isotopes of an atomic bomb. The fingerprint, the signature, the biometric reading, if you want to call it that, even though they've got the spectrometers. Here it is. And now North Korea says nuclear war is unavoidable. This is incredible. They work for the globalists. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 2 devastatingly important articles up at Infowars.com right now. Treason alert. Dems try to move gun bill forward without allowing senators to read it. Obamacare repeat. Senators not allowed to read bill prior to cloture. This is all treason, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know Robert's rules, parliamentary procedure, the laws in this country as well, they're just the same with the Federal Reserve was passed by 3 senators the night before Christmas. Went all through the House. Not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. 3 of them passed the Federal Reserve Act. Notice they got rid of our senators in 1913, 17th Amendment. Before that, the state legislature that you elected, think how powerful legislatures were. They voted then to create more separation of powers, more emergency checks and balances, more ties on the government. Your legislature, your state rep would vote for the senator. And so they were a creature of the state. The states haven't existed. They say it's the Civil War. The states, after Reconstruction was so abusive, actually came back. But that 17th Amendment, that's put a fork in it. But it's not like a person you can just kill. Liberty, like phoenixes, can rise. If you realize, look, a contract that's fraudulent is null and void. All this stuff has been done through fraud. It's a fraud. And any courts that say this, any of that, are frauds and are a lie. And so that's the bottom line. And that's what Marbury versus Madison says. I mean, I've studied common law, I've studied law, I've studied history, I've studied it all. But law comes out of the organic common sense. I mean, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence only points out what is self-evident. Self-evident truths. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Self-evident. That all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Inalienable rights. Life, liberty, life and liberty. You got your life, you got your liberty. Not everybody's as smart as the other person. Not everybody's as good looking. We all have different gifts. All of you have gifts. Even people that are handicapped, even mentally, they are giving the gift of a burden to someone to grow. Everything's a gift. If God allows me to live another 50 years, that's a gift I certainly ask for and the one I want. But if God allows the enemy to strike me down, that is a gift. Because it's going to be done for a greater cause. And that's why I'm at total peace. Total peace with my Creator, not at peace with the New World Order. Because I just watching them run over our people, watching them hurt the innocent, watching them just persecute and persecute and persecute and trample the innocent and trample the honest and trample the virtuous and engage in fraud and lies and abuse and inventing new evil makes me want to throw up. The Republican leadership likes to act like the Democrats trick them. 16 Republicans voted because to take your guns, because they are bought and paid for by foreign banks and big corporations. Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, all these guys give money to the globalist. To the globalist minions, the globalist operatives. And they're there financing this, so that's why this happens. The same thing's done in every country. They've got a blueprint, they've got a program, they've got sociologists and anthropologists and psychologists and pitchmen and psych warfare experts and advertising execs that all get together in roundtables, a lot of these are public, and talk about how to con you, how to hammer you, how to take you over. Because that's what they build, is fraud. You understand? They steal the world. That way they get the woman, they get the power. You understand that? But it's worse than that. They want to tie you down because they know you're better than them. So they spike your water with poison to retard you so they can rule a world of dimwits. All right, my friends, we're now into hour number 2. Dr. Steve Pieczenik's going to pop in at the bottom of the next hour. He just got back from South Korea on the DMZ. Former head of Pentagon operations and psych warfare, one of the founders of Delta Force with General Boykin. By the way, I got General Boykin's number, and he wants to come on. Remind me to call him today. I was supposed to call him like a month ago. That should be interesting to get his take on all this. So much going on. Lawmaker drops bombshell. North Korea may have nuclear missiles. That's not what the report says. It says they have atomic bombs that they can deliver to Japan and South Korea. That's been declassified for a long time. This newest intelligence report they're saying is classified, but a watered-down, unclassified briefing was given to the congressman. The Intelligence Committee can get the highest level security stuff unless the executive tries to deny it, and that itself is unconstitutional, but now is done out of hand because Congress has abdicated their responsibility, handed it over, which is another seditious, treasonous activity. Those aren't just words I use. That's what's happening. But if you read the report, they have atomic weapons. They've done tests before. They've picked up the isotopes that they've had successful detonations. It's real. They know it's a fingerprint. They can vaporize South Korea's major city, Seoul, of how many millions of people? I know it's more than 20 million. They can vaporize Tokyo. How many is Tokyo? One of the biggest cities in the world. And why is our government, the largest city in the world, why are we putting up, because I'm not a warmonger. I never call for that. You know that. But when you've got North Korea run by a third-generation dictator psycho saying, I have missiles, I'm going to attack, I'm going to blow up your cities, and now they've come out today in an official release and are saying our first target is Japan. Our first target is Japan, and they're saying, quote, nuclear war is unavoidable. That's in the Associated Press. North Korea says Tokyo is target number 1. I mean, that's like somebody coming to your house with a gun and saying, I'm outside, I'm going to shoot you in the head. I mean, but people are like, why isn't our government hitting them? Why is no one hitting them? And I'll tell you why, ladies and gentlemen. And again, as usual, truth is stranger than fiction. If you go up to Infowars.com, you can read this article linked to mainstream news. I've been covering this since I was on the air in 1996 when this started. Donald Rumsfeld, the head of ABB, along with Clinton authorizing it and the UN, it was a scandal at the time, signed off on transferring multiple nuclear reactors that allow them to create A-bombs when they could have been given types that you cannot create fissile material, purified, enriched uranium for the atomic weapons. And sure, this is 1945 technology, but you saw what it did to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Will Japan, already hit twice, have to take another hit? I guess to get them out of their depression? Here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Who gave North Korea nukes in the first place? Then we're going to our guest. Is the U.S. government and the CIA. We're going to cover this next hour and get into the globalist master plan. And by the way, that's not my opinion. That's AP, Reuters, London Guardian, BBC 15 years ago. This was big news from 96 to 2000. And who met secretly with Kim Jong-un last month? The Pentagon in North Korea. The Chinese are massing troops saying, don't you do this, North Korea. China is, again, it's globalist above China, above America, playing us all off against each other. But who's putting al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria publicly? Pentagon, NATO. Then saying we got to take your rights because of al-Qaeda. They got 10,000 heat-seeking missiles. Who gave them the 10,000 heat-seeking missiles? Our government put them in Libya and let them have it. Got rid of the ambassador. They were at that house getting the missiles at that warehouse facility. I mean, man, being informed is incredible. The general public can't even tell what time it is anymore, find their rumps with both hands. And we're sitting here just watching crazy land. And what did the former CEO, I want to say, it's Lindsey Williams' source. I know the guy, Dr. Well, one of the doctors here on this network, Dr. Stan Monteith, actually years ago wanted to check it, so called the sources, and he confirmed it. One of them's dead now. The head of Atlantic Richfield died, so we can say his name, Ken Fromm. But remember 3 years ago, Lindsey Williams said it's going to start in North Korea. It's not the Middle East. When our fleet moves over there, get ready. And the fleet moved a year ago over there. All right, enough of that. That's all coming up. We're going to play this clip after Mr. Swann leaves us. Treason alert. Dems try to move gun bill forward without allowing senators to read it. Red linked on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Former Black Panther government preparing invasion against the American people. Father sickened by anti-constitutional note from son's school. Yeah, they're making the kids do anti-gun, anti-liberty stuff. DHS to meet with congressmen on ammo purchases. Soda ban highlights the hidden hazards of proposed gun control restrictions. Harry Reid's 100-clip magazine faux pas. Who gave North Korea nukes in the first place? Nuclear bombshell. North Korea has nukes capable of striking neighboring nations and Pentagon. That's just some of the news up on Infowars.com. And there's a Facebook report where they now take control of your phone and control it. That's a good idea with a guy that pump and dumped his people that bought his stock and who calls you dumb effers if you trust him. Hey, dumb effers, how you idiots, morons trusting me? We're like, oh, we'll give you all our data. I mean, it's just, they just think you're so stupid. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a big fan of him, and he's what I say the best local TV reporter in the country, became a big star on the internet with millions of views to his videos, Drudge Report linking to it, drudgereport.com, Infowars.com. And I remember about a month or two ago, I wanted to get him on, and he said, well, I'm not allowed to do interviews anymore, and I'll be talking to you shortly. And I thought, well, that might mean he's going to be leaving. And sure enough, he's put out a video. We'll play a clip of it later, but why not just go right to him? He's won both a Edward R. Murrow Award, so he's that's about as good as it gets, and 2 Lone Star Emmy Awards. He's hailing from Texas. We're proud of that. He has specialized in covering the 2012 GOP presidential primaries, the Ron Paul newsletter controversy, and Mexico's drug wars on the Texas border. He's a graduate of Brigham Young University with a master's in humanities at California State University. Before moving to Cincinnati and working for Reality Check, Swann spent 11 years of broadcast career in El Paso, Texas, and KTSM TV. It goes on from there. And he looks like a cross between James Dean and Audie Murphy. And I tell you, get your butt back down here to Texas and maybe come to work for InfoWars. But no, I know you're probably going to go independent. Got a lot of offers. We're very excited to have you on with us, Ben. But first off, before we get into that, what do you think of the crazy North Korea stuff?
Listen, I think you're making some really good points about it. I mean, it's very strange when you have all the rhetoric. Just consider all the rhetoric that our government has put out regarding Iran and the potential of nuclear weapons in Iran and the possibility that Iran could get their hands on one. The fact that we had an Iraq war over the idea that Saddam Hussein might be looking for enriched uranium, and yet you have, for a fact, nuclear weapons in North Korea, and everybody saying, don't worry about those guys. They're not going to do anything. He's blowing smoke. It's a very strange kind of discussion back and forth between, when you compare, again, the talking points and the rhetoric on one side, and then with North Korea, it's a totally different situation.
You're right. I've talked to a lot of experts. They've never seen the rhetoric this hot. I mean, North Korea is saying, we will nuke you. We're loading missiles. We're going to kill you. We're going to blow up Tokyo. I mean, right there, they should have already been hit. And I mean, China better just stand back, but it's not happening. And then our government allowed the transfer of the reactors over a decade ago. I mean, this is crazy.
Well, and you have to keep in mind, too, that what does North Korea really have to lose here? I mean, at this point, because of economic sanctions against them, we know that the people in North Korea are starving. Economic sanctions, as you know, don't really do anything to harm a country's dictator. It just harms the people within that country, and it makes people desperate. So why wouldn't North Korea now take some kind of monumental step and use a nuclear weapon? What would actually prevent them from doing that? And when people say things like, oh, this won't happen because consider the Cold War, and the Cold War, the Soviets, they didn't want to get blown up. They didn't want to get killed. You know, folks in the West, they didn't want to get killed. And so there was this standoff between them. It's not really the same situation when you consider where North Korea is. They don't really have a whole lot to lose at this point.
You're absolutely right. We're going to break in a few minutes. I want to come back and talk about why you're leaving, or what you can tell us about where you're at. I know you're a nice guy, but it's certainly it's pretty obvious that you were getting a little big for people out there that don't want liberty promoted. But I'm guessing there. We'll find out more. But what else, after we talk about that, do you want to get into? There's so much happening. What's your take on all the dishonesty from the Democrats about, oh, we just want to register your guns, we don't want to confiscate them, when we all know they really want to take them?
Yeah, and that's going to be a huge issue. You know, this whole issue of Second Amendment, and the Second Amendment rights is something we've really been talking a lot about as of late. And by the way, I haven't been on your show since you were on Piers Morgan's program. We were supposed to talk shortly after that and wasn't able to. And it was one of the best, 5 minutes in television I've ever seen. But, when you look at the Second Amendment and what's happening right now around the country, it's truly remarkable, because the rhetoric is such that folks in Washington are saying, we're not going to take your guns. We're not interested in your guns. Listen, if they're being honest, then they should say, forget about all the so-called assault weapons that are out there. And again, I think you brought up this point. What else? What is an assault weapon? Every weapon's an assault weapon. But we don't want the assault weapons. If they really meant that, they leave the assault weapons alone and they go and take away handguns. Because statistically, that's where the majority of gun crimes are committed. But they're not being honest, because they're clearly moving through a process of disarmament, and it's taking place slowly. You've pointed it out many, many times.
They want the guns that can fight back against a tyrannical government. Bottom line.
But you made the point, and we had actually made this point a couple of weeks prior to, and I was really glad that you used that moment on Piers Morgan's program to say this to the nation. But the bottom line is, when we talk about the Second Amendment is not about having rifles to hunt with. It's not. It's about matching equal force to government force and to military force. That's what it's there for. You know it, I know it, people across this nation know it.
It's a check and a balance, absolutely. Ben Swann is our guest. We're going to give you his Facebook, Twitter, all his websites and everything. And I can't wait to see what he ends up doing. He's told me a little bit behind the scenes, but we'll see how much he can tell us on air straight ahead. Coming up, I'm going to play some clips from the Senate where they lied and said, you'll be able to put riders on here, you'll be able to put amendments on here to change it. You know, we promised, just give us the vote we want. And now they're not letting them do that, and they're not even letting them see the bill. Of course, that's what they always do. The senators all know this. Republicans need an excuse to take your guns and go, the Democrats fooled us. They're bought and paid for. That's coming up in the next segment with Ben Swann and a bunch of other news. Really an amazing newsman. Won the Edward R. Murrow Award when he was very, very young. I guess he's been a newsman for 15 years now or so, and he's getting ready to leave the station that he's currently at up in Cincinnati, Ohio. So why are you leaving? Where are you going, or what are you planning right now? Because I know you're in some deep discussions with other folks right now. What's the plan, Ben?
You know, the plan right now is what we're really looking for is the strongest platform possible. When we started doing Reality Check about 2 years ago, really had no idea how big it was going to get, hadn't intended for it to become anything other than just a local news segment, but we were given freedom with it. And what a rare thing that is in media today. Given the freedom to talk about issues that we thought were important issues and issues that are affecting people all over the country. And so when we're talking about things like the political race in 2012, the stripping of credentials of delegates being disenfranchised, the Ron Paul blackout, all of a sudden, you know, we start blowing up across the internet. And I come to find out there are millions of people in this country, tens of millions, who have this liberty view that I thought was really just my own personal view. And I wasn't trying to force it on anyone, just trying to get people to look at things from a different perspective. And certainly as a journalist, you know, you're not trying to impose your view on people, but trying to get them to see things just from the paradigm.
But the power structure knows liberty is popular. That's why they never want to give it a chance to get its roots going, and that's why they always try to suppress people. So bottom line, did you get told to back off?
You know, it wasn't so much about being told to back off, so much as the station has, you know, they're moving in a certain direction, and they're obviously...
You just said not so much, well, they're moving in another direction. No, that's how they do it. We don't like this direction. Let us nudge you. Be honest. Be honest. They told you knock it off.
It really wasn't. It really was an issue. These guys really want Cincinnati-centric, and we want bigger issues. And so kind of my view of where it was headed was different. It's not... They were always very supportive of what we were doing. So I want to make that clear. But it really was an issue of me saying, look, we're coming to an end of a contract, and now it's time to decide what to do. And I think the best thing to do is, rather than trying to stay this path in Cincinnati, is to say, what else is out there? What's the bigger platform? Because I believe this, Alex. I believe the majority of Americans who don't know what the liberty movement is or the liberty message is, if you articulate it to them, they'll say, yeah, that's me. And so what we're trying to do is just open up people's minds and say, listen, maybe you are of this mindset, you just don't know it yet.
Well, sure, Ben. I mean, America is asleep right now, by and large. Big sections have been woken up. You're on a big alarm clock going off. And I saw on the news you were highly rated, probably one of their most popular shows. And I think there's some professional jealousy. One thing I've noticed is, especially when you're in, you know, just a local area, you'd think the best horse in the race would be popular. The truth is, there's a lot of professional jealousy that goes on. And I'm not trying to get you to throw your colleagues under the bus, but I mean, come on. All they really care about is ratings. You were delivering ratings. So I think that's a bunch of bull that, oh, just do local stuff.
Yeah, I can't argue with you about that, because our ratings were fantastic and moving up like crazy. So we were doing extremely well, and I hope they continue to do well. But again, I think it's just it's an issue now of platform and where's the next best thing. In fact, I want to take a minute. I think you have a video there, and I don't know if you guys are planning to play any of that. But one of the things I'm trying to do is get input from people who have supported me over this time to give me input on what the next step is. And so we actually created a survey. I started a new website. It's benswann.com. Folks can go there and take a survey. And I know there are people who are concerned about data mining. We're not data mining you. We're not trying to get your information. So
no, you want to get their feedback on what direction they want to see you go. That's smart move.
Yeah. That's what we want. We want to know what people think and whether or not they're willing to continue to support. Listen, you are a guy who has pioneered in many ways independent media in this country. I mean, you've done things that nobody else had done before you, and you've really blazed a trail. What we want to do is find out if there's support for kind of the direction we want to go in. And really one of the things we're focused on is how do we kind of translate streaming sites, because they're popping up everywhere. How do we translate that to make that kind of the forefront of the liberty movement battle for media?
Absolutely. We're going to come back and play a little bit of that video, and then I'm going to get into the gun issue with you. But you were telling me off air, you're looking at going totally independent, even though you've got offers.
Right. We have offers, and we're talking to some different folks, and we may do a kind of a combination where we work some with some bigger media, but also have the freedom to go independent.
Yeah, well, I mean, I knew about this, a week or so ago that this was happening and hadn't even really called you, but I told you during the break, absolutely. I mean, you're a Texan as well. I'm not afraid of popular people. I'm not afraid of good-looking people. I'm not afraid of people being bigger than Alex Jones. This platform is to take on the globalist. This platform is to defeat the New World Order. So, I mean, I'll tell you, I'm too busy to chase you around, but if you want to come work with us, come down and check out the operation. All right, we got Ben Swann's video. We're going to play some of here in just a moment, or you can watch it at benswann.com. We're going to link it up at infowars.com and prisonplanet.com as well. Speaking of alternative real media, the establishment media has already lost all credibility because it's owned and controlled by big offshore and foreign banks who steal $85 billion a month. And the mainstream media makes about $1 trillion a year in North America. $1 trillion. But it's paid and made to be profitable, but it doesn't have the audience. It's like a tithe by the big mega corporations to keep people brainwashed, dumbed down. They're like, how do we make them stand down? Well, have Kesha, teach 14-year-olds how to commit suicide. Make it cool. Wonder why the little girls are committing suicide. Gee, it's this video. Teaches them how. I mean, just the most savage, screwed up stuff they can weaponize at you. But the general public, more and more is tuning out of it. So MSNBC, top show, 1 million viewers. CNN, top show, 500,000 viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, there are over 1 million listeners. That's a conservative number. An hour. I mean, 1 million people are tuned in right now. 3 million over 3 hours. 15 million one way or another. That's very conservative. In 1 week, it's more like 20 million now, but I'll say 15. It's like my brain automatically lowers numbers. The point is that it's the opposite. If I catch a 10-pound fish, I tell you it's 7 pounds. It's 15 million. How are they going to deal with that? How are they going to? The answer is they want to bring an Internet 2 that shuts down the old web, as you know, with Internet ID, Internet taxes. I mean, they're calling it extremism to criticize the government. I mean, that's not going to work saying we're all terrorists. Because the people that know how to tie their shoelaces, that go to work every day, that are informed, know that America's been taken over. Now, you may have all the dumbed-down TV heads out there that are getting dumber by the day. Those people don't count. I mean, that's like telling my dogs to clean the house or cook dinner. I mean, they're not even really people. The globalists call the general public animals. It's really true. The general public, it's not just the programming and the bad food and the toxins in the water and the dumbing down. People, once they get liberty, want to be lazy. I'm going back to our guest here. My point is, spread the word about Infowars.com. Spread the word about PrisonPlanet.com. Because we are a launch pad, a fulcrum. That's all I do is try to get other media people on, other folks, and promote what they're doing. Because I understand that I'm not trying to be King Daddy here. And I don't say this to talk about myself. It's a philosophy for you as well, because I know it's the real philosophy that'll free us. I'm trying to raise everybody up. I need more people, more X-Wings going in against the Death Star. Instead of 20 X-Wings, we need 1,000, ladies and gentlemen. We might be able to do it with 20 X-Wings. But the point is, 1,000 X-Wings, we're taking this thing down. You've got to decide you're getting in the X-Wing. You got to decide you're going after the enemy. And to do that, you've got to support and speak out and promote people that tell the truth and buy from us, because we're self-funded. It takes me up to $6–7 million a year to fund this operation, selling books, T-shirts, sponsors, you name it. And we're very picky what we promote. We have the Seed Center now. We're going to add every great seed we're testing and working with people on, non-hybrid, non-GMO, like the Survival Seed Vault. We have the best deal on this at the InfoWars Seed Center at InfoWarsStore.com. And everything we promote is win-win-win. Plant a spring, a summer, a fall garden. Eat that food, can it, give it to friends and family. Get outside. Don't watch as much television. Kids are outside half as much as they were 20 years ago. I'm going to cover that next hour. They are killing our society. Get back to the earth. Get outside. Go exercise. That's how you defeat the New World Order. Turn off the iPad. Turn off the iPhone. Get away from the mainstream television and support local AM and FM stations that carry this show. The high-quality water filters, the storable foods, the books, the videos. It's a war, and you buy your war bonds at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139. Now, Ben, we've got this video. Ben Swann, he's leaving his hit TV show in Fox in Cincinnati that's become a national sensation. I know we carry all this stuff at InfoWars.com. And Ben, I'm ranting here about supporting the alternative media. Talk a little bit about that, what you see happening in the media, replacing the mainstream media, and then talk about the video we're about to play.
Well, I think you're making some really good points there, because the bottom line is that you're watching this steady erosion of viewership and listenership to typical mainstream media. And yet the average person is still very much under the impression that this is all there is out there. The internet, as you pointed out, you have all these internet, protection bills for intellectual property like SOPA and PIPA and CISPA and international treaties like ACTA. And those bills are really not designed, as you know, to do anything to actually protect intellectual property. They're designed to control information on the internet so that it creates less competition. And what we're really seeing now is that there is a phenomenon happening that mainstream media never could have seen coming even 20 years ago. And through the internet, through streaming services and all these different platforms that are now available, I mean, information is flowing to people in ways that like never before. And people are turning away from traditional media, even entertainment media, simply because they want to be able to pick and choose. And so if you're an American under the age of 40, I mean, many of them don't even have cable anymore. You have a Netflix and you have Hulu, and you're going straight to those sources even for entertainment. So what we're seeing is there's an opportunity now to say, listen, there's never been a time like this where you have opportunity and you have technology that have kind of come together at this moment. A growing liberty movement that does not have a voice in mainstream media and is growing like crazy. And we didn't really choose to be here. This has kind of been thrust upon us, but we want to do something with it. We want to be responsible with the opportunity that we have and do something that's going to change the way people view things here in America.
You're right. And again, there's a window, because even CNET has to admit, and Google, that all these bills and all these treaties are meant to, quote, bring in Chinese-style net censorship, Russian-style censorship, taxes, internet IDs. It's extrajudicial, where they just ban you from the web in 3 strikes. True authoritarianism with the Pentagon running it. I mean, it's nightmares. So now is the time, folks, to appreciate things like DrudgeReport.com or BenSwann.com or Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.tv. Like, we're on Roku, we're on Boxy. There's hundreds of thousands of people a week just watching us on that now. Hundreds of thousands a week just watching us on the news. The radio's millions using the old media format. But see, talk radio is the only old media that's still doing okay compared to the other dinosaur media, because it's outside the old box of censored teleprompter control. It's real open freeform. So that's why talk radio is something the system also wants to censor. So it's kind of that wild card. Go ahead.
That's right, because remember, it was in the late 80s, though, talk radio was all but gone. And it was when talk radio kind of was reinvented. It was the new advent of talk radio, with creating conservative voices and liberty voices that suddenly began to emerge, that talk radio made a comeback and has remained, as you said, very strong over the past number of years. But it was almost gone as a media, simply because it had become really irrelevant to the national conversation, and it became relevant again. And that's what's happened with mainstream media, is despite their best efforts, they're just irrelevant to where most people are. They spend way too much time talking about things like Lindsay Lohan and not talking about issues, as you said, about internet control or taxation or Second Amendment or First Amendment rights or drone strikes on American citizens. They won't talk about those issues, and therefore have made themselves irrelevant.
Well, you're right. A few years ago, I was given the Talkers Trailblazer Award, like their first place award. I forget the exact name of it. It was on the cover of their magazine. And that's the big insider publication for talk radio. And I got there and spoke to, the main executives of talk radio. And all I said to them was, your children have no future if we don't beat the New World Order. I'm not going to get up here and tell you how I've been so successful. How have I been successful? Using every venue I could to warn people about attacks on our liberty, because I take it personal. And sure, okay, well, you already know the answer. Passion, focus, research, telling the truth, not caring what people think about me, being real. Okay, that's what'll make you successful on talk radio. You guys already all knew that. There I am in a room full of the top executives, you know, only a couple hundred of them. And I said, you already know the answer. Now I'm going to tell you the rest of the answer. If you don't get on the ball and stand against the New World Order, they're going to take everything. They're not going to just take our guns and then not take your bank account or your pension. They're not just going to, you know, take our liberties, you know, when it comes to travel and not make you take inoculations. Okay? I said, bottom line, you better understand what's happening. Go ahead, Ben.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, at the end of the day, media, you have to remember that this fourth estate that is the press, obviously at the time of the founding, but is now media in America, really has a responsibility. We have a job, and our job is to hold power in check. And media gave that roll up a long time ago because they really became controlled by those powers, and so they've become an entertainment function, or in some cases a propaganda function of political parties and powers that be. And so you have this situation today where there's almost, as you're talking about, this new advent of the fourth estate, but it's because of the internet, because information is able to be passed.
The mainstream media created a vacuum by becoming total repeater mouthpieces, to the point of the White House saying, we're not going to even have press conferences anymore. We'll just give you a press release because we've got our own system. I mean, the mainstream media is making itself obsolete.
Well, they absolutely are, but I'm sure you saw that, I believe it was Vice President Biden telling CNN, or no, it wasn't, excuse me, it was, he thanked MSNBC, but a senator who thanked CNN for helping them to push this gun bill through the Senate. And thanking them for spending, I guess, 2 days of covering this and trying to really make this case on behalf of the White House. When instead it should be CNN that's standing up to the White House and saying, you know, why is it that senators aren't reading bills? I know we're going to get into this in a minute, but, you know, how do you have someone like Senator Mike Lee who's standing up and saying that not one single senator has read the amendment that was issued by Joe Manchin and Pat Toomey? Not one single senator had bothered to read it. How are you all passing laws in this country that you haven't read?
We're going to play that in a moment. They're not even letting them see it now. That video's up on Infowars.com. But, I mean, take Amber Lyon. She's won all these Emmys. She's going all over the world to war zones, and then she can't go to these different Middle Eastern countries where the West is in charge, running death squads, shooting men, women, and children. And then she learns, well, you didn't know, they've bought out your TV show. It's now funded by the government of Qatar, or the government of, and she found out that it turned out CNN and CNN International isn't just advertisers. The shows aren't just owned by the U.S. government. They're owned by foreign governments. And now the communist Chinese say, you can't release Red Dawn, remake with us in it. And by the way, you've got to re-edit World War Z. You can't show outbreaks in China when it's about outbreaks everywhere. So it's not just the globalist now, it's even foreign countries. We're wide open. I mean, America is like a giant whorehouse, and they've already sold us out like we've got to, go into a bedroom with the New World Order. And I got news for you. You're not selling me out, okay? Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's the issue that I think people have awakened to. They're not interested in it anymore. I think anyone who's awake at all is saying, listen, we understand that none of this is legitimate, that what media is telling us, they're just propaganda wings of either political parties or governments. When you have Secretary of State at the time, Hillary Clinton, talking about the fact that the CCTV out of China and that Al Jazeera TV and that Russia Today, RT, were really, as she was describing them, like effective propaganda tools on behalf of their governments, saying our media here isn't effective enough as a propaganda tool, and so we need to actually be investing in state media in the United States. And you're thinking, I thought they were pretty effective. I mean, I thought CNN was pretty good at putting out this message on their behalf, but apparently not good enough in her mind. But what I think they're really saying is that we can't have the alternative voice to it. And that's why right now is a time like no other, and I know you know this, Alex, but it's a time like no other in American history, where information is here and the technology is here to get messages out to the masses. But the only way that happens is if people get behind it and support it and make it happen, just like folks that supported you for a long, long time. Absolutely.
What we're saying here to the listeners, I know most of our listeners get this, but there's people that kind of passively listen by the millions. You either get active or become slaves. And we've got a chance to win this because the globalists know, because a large portion of the public are like zombies, that allows them to take over. But it's almost an attribute that so many are zombies because there's a ton of liberty lovers, more than there are globalists. We can take back over as well and build a new media to actually free the zombies. And I mean, the general public is becoming zombie-like. We're going to go to break and come back and play your video piece. But first, since you mentioned it, here is the video of Senator Mike Lee saying nobody has read the bill. Treason alert. Dems try to move gun bill forward without allowing senators to read it. Obamacare repeat. Senators not allowed to read the bill prior to cloture. Here it is.
Bills do not address. You see, Mr. President, these are the rights that we're trying to protect by requiring a 60-vote threshold on any new gun control legislation. And in so doing, we're trying to prevent the ability of members to push through legislation before anyone has had time to read and evaluate the language, and then tell the American people what that language means for them, what that language would mean for their rights. Unfortunately, that is exactly what we are faced with today. Yesterday, Senators Toomey and Manchin announced a new proposal that's widely expected to replace the current language on the background checks in this bill. And yet, as of this morning, as of this very moment, not a single senator has been provided the legislative text of that very provision. Because the background check measure is the centerpiece of this legislation, it's critical that we all know what's in the bill before we vote on it.
Ben, I mean, more importantly than even talking about reading the bills, and that's obviously central, they're disingenuous. The Democrats are all on record saying they want to register to confiscate. It's not like that's a secret.
That's right. Well, and it's the Dems are very clear on what they're doing, but the Republicans are too. Listen, Mike Lee, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, all three senators, had originally said that they were going to do what? They were going to filibuster this issue the same way they did with the nomination of John Brennan in order to bring this information to the American public. That 13-hour filibuster, by the way, on drones, we did a piece on this. There was a 50-point swing in American opinion on the right of the president to kill U.S. citizens overseas with drones who were suspected of terrorism, a 50-point swing within 2 weeks after that filibuster. And so they were threatening to do the same thing again here. And it was Republicans, 16 Republicans, who actually prevented that filibuster from taking place.
Absolutely. All of them. Again, that's why they're so afraid of it. If one senator stands up, if one good man... we need every good person to come to the aid of liberty in our country right now, because it shows we have power. We have the right on our sides, but we're in a sea of deception where nobody will stand up. And that's why I commend you leaving your lucrative job at Fox to go start your own operation or go somewhere else to have freedom, Ben, because that's what's going to happen. It's like Bongino, that, top of the Secret Service, leading details, a star in it, leaves because of the collectivism. When Obama was sitting there brainwashing children about how great communism is, he just couldn't do it anymore and quit. And it's that decision, saying, no, we're not going to be part of this lie with you, that will lead the sheep out of bondage.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's where we're at. We really want to be able to be a voice, as I mentioned, that's speaking truth to people and speaking truth to power. And that's where it's not just us, as you mentioned. You need people all over the nation.
Absolutely. Ben Swann, stay there. Going to break. Coming back.
Hey guys, Ben Swann here. Okay, so by now, no doubt you've heard either through Facebook or on the web someplace or from a friend that yes, in fact, I am leaving Fox 19 here in Cincinnati. The question is, where am I headed? And a lot of you have been asking, tell me, where are you going? Are you going to a network? Are you headed off to the Blaze? A lot of people are asking me that. Are you going to go independent? A lot of questions about it. Look, be honest with you. Right now, I'm talking to a few different folks, but I really want your input on this, because when I came to Cincinnati 2 years ago, I'll be honest with you, I had absolutely no idea what was going to take place. And we started this thing called Reality Check and thought this would be a great way of putting out some news content that other people weren't doing. I had no clue that Reality Check would explode the way that it has. The best thing about it, though, to be honest with you, is that it connected me to you. By far, the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me in my career. So, as I take this next step, I'll be honest with you, I want your input. I want to know how you feel about the message that's been put out and what the next step should be. It's going to weigh heavily into that decision. And the best way for me to get that input is not through somebody going on Facebook and giving me their ideas. It's actually for you to do me a huge favor and go over to my brand new website, benswann.com. It's super easy to find. And when you get there, take the survey. We have a few questions on there to get your input, find out a little bit about you, and about where you think this next step should lead. Look, I've said it before. I am a huge fan of the people who would say they were my fans. I appreciate the content you guys send me, the things that you've said in the past, the support you've given, the story ideas that you've given me, and the education you've helped me to get. I think we're a pretty good team so far. So go over to my website, benswann.com, take that survey. It'll take just a few minutes of your time, and we'll get back together very soon. I'll see you then.
All right, there you go. And people always ask me, why do I promote other liberty-oriented media? I do it because we don't have a future if we don't. And it's funny you mentioned Beck in there. I think I told you like 6 months ago off air, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Beck doesn't offer you a job because I know he's building a whole network off basically ideas I put on air, which is fine. I think that's great. And just my only painful thing is hearing something, him reading word for word InfoWars articles, then telling his listeners don't trust InfoWars. I mean, I see it all the time. Every time I tune in, it's insane. But it's funny you mentioned Beck there. I don't want to go off into that whole discussion. But you were telling me off air you're probably going to go independent. And I think that's probably the best move, and then just have your stuff out there everywhere. But you know, you could go into Dallas. It's just that I don't think you're quite effeminate enough to join his sidekicks. I'm sorry.
I don't even know what to say to that.
It's a joke. It makes them mad. They hate me. They're listening right now. Hi, Glenn. Cover my stuff tomorrow on the air. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you know.
I mean, the Glenn Beck show is my show. I mean, the truth is it's my show. So, I mean, I like it, actually.
It's just interesting, though, because a lot of people have assumed that that's the place, and I'm not sure why. In fact, to be honest with you, I mean, I've never having a conversation with Glenn Beck. So
no. He would be intimidated by you. I actually told you that off air too 6 months ago. But if he was smart, he would. But let's go back here. I mean, come on. So you're probably going to move to San Antonio, I'm guessing, where I guess you got family, and then you'll be down here in a few months doing your own thing.
Well, and the question will be, yeah, what it looks like ultimately. I mean, we're working. One of the things you're going to find on the survey, if you go over there and you take that survey, is we're considering, trying to launch something possibly through Kickstarter to do some crowdsourcing and to get together, a plan to put something together, put out some content that we think is going to be really important for people. That'll be informational, be educational, and then taking that content and, like I said, getting it into streaming services, getting it out there where people can see it. Because, one thing that we're really about is really trying to open up people's minds. I almost see us as the bridge between mainstream and alternative media and saying there's a lot of good information over here, guys, that you're missing because you're watching the wrong things. And
hey,
so
you know what? We're going to break for 1 minute. Come back and do 5 more minutes with me. I want to show you a few articles, Ben, that you'll never see in the mainstream that I'd like you to cover when you launch your own operation. There goes my voice going completely out, folks. All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, here's stories you'll never see in establishment, megaphone, prostitute media known as mainstream media. Really dying carcass, state-run, New World Order-run, vending machine media. I mean, really vending machine media. Because foreign governments, just China, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, hey, we'll give you $500,000. Don't let your reporter criticize we're lining people up and shooting them. Amber Lyon, get rid of her. Here, we'll put a few coins in. Ben Swann is here. The answer is move in an exodus away from these people. Here's an article you never see. Italian Supreme Court president blames Bilderberg for terrorist attacks, strategy of tension. Their head of their CIA has gone public saying they're staging terror attacks as a pretext to destroy liberty worldwide, that they have the documents. You think you'd see that in mainstream news. Also, who gave North Korea nukes in the first place? We have links to 10-year-old mainstream news articles, but you won't see this now. You see, but you will see somebody like Ben Swann cover it, so then Fox tells him, oh, no, just do local stuff. Ben, would you cover stuff like this once you launch your own operation, or is that the ravings of a fascist?
No, absolutely. Listen, I think I'm especially intrigued, by the way, by this article you guys have up about who gave these nukes to North Korea in the first place. And listen, part of what we do too is because what we really try to do is stay away from editorializing. Obviously, we have a little bit different brand in what we do. But one of the things that we're really about, and I love what you guys have done with this, is we try to go back and find sources and find facts from the past, because one thing that media does not do a very good job of is ever going back and saying, hey, what did we say about this 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago? It's the same concept with Al-Qaeda. You mentioned this before, Al-Qaeda in Syria. Well, go all the way back to Al-Qaeda being created with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan.
Exactly.
In the late 1970s, early 1980s. And yet media forgets that conveniently today. They never talk about those issues today, never discuss the fact that our government funded this and created it. And today we're repeating history all over again.
You're right. And at a certain point, it's got to stop, because we see cultures throughout history go crazy. And you know, I talk to a lot of mainstream media people. They don't like what's happening either. They don't like being on a short leash.
Yeah. Well, no, they don't. And there's a lot of really good reporters out there and smart reporters, and they understand that at the end of the day, they have to do what they're ultimately told to do. And I think that there's more and more people kind of pushing back against that and moving away from it. And again, it's things like access to the internet, and there's just a lot of platforms out there. So, you know, one of the most important things we do, groups like Campaign for Liberty have talked a lot about the absolute necessity of keeping the internet free of government control. And it's vitally important that that happens. And I think your listeners absolutely know that. But again, where I feel like we play a service here is to go out and find folks who don't know it yet.
No, exactly. Everybody's got to promote liberty and go out and wake other people up. Obama's got to rally people to try to take our guns. He needs that grassroots. Look at how the White House senior advisor to Obama came out and said, we hate Drudge Report. We can't even talk because of him picking up what we say. Well, you're the one saying it. That shows how pathetically weak the little man behind the curtain is. But getting back to this North Korea thing, before you leave in a few weeks, your station there, come to him and say, what, I can't cover North Korea threatening to nuke America? Doesn't that affect Cincinnatians locally? And then, you know, do a reality check on the fact that our government and others help give the fissile material to North Korea. How could they say no to you on that?
You know what? I'll absolutely do that. I'll absolutely do that story. We'll do it this next week. We do them Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And so absolutely, we'll do that story. Because again, you know, the station for us, as we're going out, you know, obviously they have their direction that they're going in. And they've never really suppressed anything we've done. I don't see them suppressing this. So I think we'll be okay with it. But I'll definitely do the story because, as you guys are pointing out, you've got great information here and sources. And these aren't wild conspiratorial sources. These are
wait a minute. Somebody else has something to say. Somebody else, play him. Yeah, they have something to say to us.
Alex Jones, you piece of garbage. I don't know what your deal is. I really don't know, and I don't care.
Hey, Ben Swann, you're awesome. We need to talk off air. Have a meeting soon. Thanks for coming on, bro. I wish you all the luck.
Prepare by purchasing.
All right, at the bottom of the hour, we're going to look deeply at who gave the nukes to North Korea. You're not going to see this in the dinosaur kleptocrat vending machine media. I call them vending machine because whoever puts money into them, they'll say whatever their buyers tell them to say. The PR media, the propaganda media. We're going to be breaking that down at the bottom of the hour. North Korea saying they've loaded A-bombs on top missiles and are preparing to blow up. I mean, I've got the quotes right here. They're going to blow up Tokyo, the most populous city in the world. How many people live in Tokyo? Like 30 million or something? I mean, I would be pretty angry. But you know what? I've heard pundits on Fox News say the Japanese ought to be thankful for Fukushima because radiation's good for them. Ann Coulter said that, and she said she wasn't joking. So I would suggest Ann Coulter go get on top the highest skyscraper in Tokyo and say, Kim Jong-il, fire the missile. I'm about to really get some health here. These people are so out of control, man. But I got to tell you, I've kind of gone over the mountain. Just where I'm at peace, because the last few weeks I've been so upset about everything and just so worried about everything. You know what? God's in control. And whatever's going to happen is in God's plan. And God's plan is for all of us, though, to speak out and be involved. Because physically what happens to us, you know, we probably can't control all that. But spiritually, we can. And you know, I'm not telling you what to subscribe to, you know, religiously or anything. I'm just saying, if you don't feel God's presence, something's wrong with you. Let me tell you, there's like a lot of zombies out there in the population. And that's what I want to talk about now is consciousness. You can just type into a search engine, brain waves of the average Westerner are dropping. TV Alzheimer's connections, neurological disorders. The English language is growing in words and popularity, but the amount of words used is shrinking. People aren't communicating. You go to a restaurant, every kid in the place is on an iPad or iPod. The parents aren't talking. They're on an iPad or iPod. And they're not even researching news or info. They're like, you know, looking at entertainment stuff. The IQs are dropping. That's physical. In fact, guys, print me an article on that right now. IQs dropping in the West. Sodium fluoride in the waters. Harvard study, on average, a 15 to 20% IQ reduction if you live in a city that's fluoridated and drink it as a child. I mean, these are facts. Stubborn things they are. That we are under this mass mind control system where they turn up the social engineers, in their own words, the ambient level of distractions, diversions, infighting, cultural poison. I mean, I was watching this morning, there's a story up on Infowars.com about Kesha, and I hadn't really ever followed her, and I watched a couple of her videos, and it's teaching 14-year-old girls how to commit suicide and songs about committing suicide, and having her fans send in, you know, their teeth to wear around her neck and how she loves Satan and the devil and, you know, all of this. And they're not just doing this to be cool. This is the spirit of the age. This is how do we hurt the youth? How do we screw them up so bad they roll over to us to bring in the control grid? And I'm going to break down what the control grid is after we play this video. Now, you know, I've been doing Man on the Street for a long time, 16 years, and I've had my reporters doing it, and we're going to be doing more of it. And I think all of you should be going out doing Man on the Street for your own YouTube channel or online. I mean, it's really to create a cultural engagement with people about how dumbed down folks have gotten. Leanne McAdoo, the story's up on prisonplanet.tv, she went out and could find no one that knew that dihydrogen monoxide was water. Redoing a Penn and Teller skit from like 9 years ago. We aired that yesterday, that they picked up from a high school student who had done it a few years before that, showing his whole class, including his so-called biology teacher, did not know what dihydrogen monoxide was. And so we went out and did it and found no one in Austin, in a wealthiest part of town, right on the pedestrian bridge with, you know, all these university professors and people. None of them knew what dihydrogen monoxide was, and they did call for banning it because it has a scary-sounding name like carbon dioxide or sodium chloride or potassium chloride, the table salt. Well, sodium chloride is. Potassium chloride, a variant of it. And that's why I want to air this Mark Dice piece, because Mark, when he's on, just does a tremendous job. And it's good to see him, you know, out there really showing how dumbed down people are. He did another video where he's like, did you hear we nuked China, blew up 2 other cities last week over the trade deficit? And people are like, oh, that's you know, that's a good idea. Or, oh, I don't care. Or, okay, well, whatever. You know, we might have wanted to talk to him. I mean, just totally oh, millions are dead. Okay, I got to go. Look, if you don't care about millions dying, which didn't die, and don't even know about something like that, do you think you've got any future? These are people in a zombie state, raised in their diapers in front of a television where they don't interact. It's a mental illness. And the globalists brag about this. Their brain waves are very close to a sleep state. You see them walk around, you say it's like they're in a daze. They're in one. And when you go, hey, wake up, they're like your 5-year-old don't want to get out of bed. I'll be waking my 7-year-old up or, you know, 10-year-old, and hey, get up. You know, we got to go to church or whatever. Oh, let me sleep 10 more minutes. It's the same thing. Oh, leave me alone. Leave me alone. We've got to wake these zombies up. Plus, it's more invigorating to be awake. And that is what's happened. I mean, it is a mass zombiosis. So when they laugh at you, that's a pre-programmed response. Because they've seen millions of simulated murders on TV, death, killing, video games. So you tell them about, hey, you know, 2 million dead Chinese in a nuclear attack, and they just go, I don't care. Because they can't differentiate what's real. And this has been done scientifically. The globalists brag about this. Bernays bragged about it 60, 70 years ago. And now they've got a giant horde of people who don't care if millions are dying in Iraq or whatever for real, but then when the media shakes them out of it to go, the dead children, here's their names, then they cry and call for our guns over 20 dead kids. You know, they're taken out of the trance occasionally, but only by the programmers. So there's a split. There's people waking up, and there's people that are getting deeper into the trance. And I'm going to have my crew go out in Austin. In fact, I was already planning on it. I guess great minds think alike. And I was already, because I just love the good work people do. I just love the work of Ben Swann. I love the good work of people like Mark Dice. You know, even if I individually, particularly am sad for people and their own personal stuff, I still have to admire important work because that's what matters. That's what matters in this universe. And I just have, I was just reading the Bible passage this morning, about turn the other cheek, but that's with your brethren, not with the New World Order. Christ beat the money changers, but when your brethren are having issues, you need to love them, especially to guide them and build them up to do the great work that needs to be done fighting tyranny. We are builders, and that's our job, and we need to shake these zombies out of their mind control. Here's Mark Dice's excellent report.
We're going to just repeal the Second Amendment and take the guns away from the crazy right-wing white extremists and just make sure that only the illegal unregistered guns stay on the streets.
The white guy signs it.
Thank you so much.
So thank you.
By repealing the Second Amendment, what that'll do is we'll have a door-to-door gun confiscation against the white people, the right-wing extremists.
Okay.
Take away their guns.
Birthday? What's the? Oh, my birthday.
This guy looks like he's white, black
just
mixed,
repealing the Second
it.
Amendment, door-to-door gun confiscations. Then that way, only the unregistered guns will be out, and we'll be much safer that way.
Got you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Making eye contact.
Just a name and a signature.
This is California.
We're trying to just repeal the Second Amendment to make sure that only the criminals have the guns
San Diego.
and get them out of the hands of the law-abiding
The woman
citizens.
signs it.
To repeal the Second Amendment. It's such an old-fashioned.
They're signing a petition to repeal the Second Amendment.
Just making sure that the law-abiding gun owners have that right taken away.
All right.
Thank you so much. We're going to repeal the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Only the police and the military need to have guns. We can trust them. They've never done anything wrong, and we're just going to get the legal registered guns off the street.
You don't have to convince us, my friend.
This will remove all the law-abiding registered gun owners, and then the criminal sign. The criminals won't turn their guns in, so they'll still have their guns after we repeal the Second Amendment. Thanks for supporting that. Come on, bro. You don't want the kids to die in another massacre like Sandy Hook, do you?
No, but you're just...
Come on,
I don't feel like signing anything right now. I'm sorry, man.
We're going to repeal the Second Amendment.
No, I don't want to.
And, well, come on, we want to help keep people safe. We can trust... But you can't be trusted to own those guns. The police can be
only
trusted,
2 young women, look like they're about 17,
slaves.
said no.
No. Thank you. A chance to win a free Xbox to repeal the Second Amendment?
Nah, that's fine. Pure genius.
With a straight face. What we're doing is we're supporting the Lord, we're repealing the Second Amendment to get the guns off the streets. The police, if you have any problems, you can call the police. You don't need to defend your family yourself. So we're just
California is the deepest under mind control.
We just supported repealing the Second Amendment.
He pats her on the back. She smiles.
We're trying to just print.
Even if you have a permit?
Birthday, please. We're just repealing the Second Amendment for all, and a signature. We're just repealing the Second Amendment for all law-abiding citizens. We don't need that. If you have a problem, if there's a threat to your family, you just call the police. You can wait on them. So
that's true.
Thank you so much for that. We don't need these Tea Partiers and these law-abiding citizens to own guns.
And they all sign
for the police and the military.
His key is he talks like a zombie. He goes, oh.
In today's society, we can trust the government enough to
see, that's the NPR
the only people
voice.
Who have the weapons.
I don't know if he's doing this on purpose, but these people are hypnotized. He's speaking to them in the proper voice.
And take them away from everybody. All right. Thanks for supporting that.
Thanks
Are you 18?
for turning them in.
Okay, just checking. What we'll do after the Second Amendment is repealed is we'll have some door-to-door searches to confiscate the registered weapons since we have databases of
the rest of the video's up at Infowars.com.
We're
going to post it right there along with his Nuke China where people think China's been nuked and don't care and don't even know. These people are in a zombie state. Good job, Mark. I was just out there. They have CNN on the TV. Can you guys pump that in here for TV viewers, radio listeners? Paul Begala, I meant to mention that weeks ago. He has his own TV show. His own TV show. And notice all over CNN, ABC, you name it, it's nothing but former government people. Because it's state-run media. And he's the guy that said executive orders, stroke of the pen, law of the land, kind of cool. An incredibly nasty person, deeply involved in the black ops of the Clinton administration. I mean, Anderson Cooper's admittedly CIA. And we've got to sit up there with classical brainwashing media. And, you know, I said I'd get into the heart of the New World Order. I've gotten to a lot of it. But you got to understand, this is like medical triage. When people get totally lazy, totally decadent, totally stupid, totally disconnected from reality, they're like lambs to the slaughter. We have become domesticated. It's like a dog you put in a box its whole life and just throw food in the jail cell window. It doesn't know anything about the outside world. It is a victim. And people sit in front of televisions their whole life. They see their neighbors shot and killed. They don't even care. They saw that on the movies 1,000 times. And the fact that we went out in Austin with a petition and everyone signed it to ban water. Everyone. One guy came up when we were leaving. And people say, well, why didn't you get him? Because we were leaving. And so, wait, that was dihydrogen monoxide. That's water, isn't it? A guy we talked to. I mean, that is crazy. Number one, you'd say, what is it? And she kept saying, well, it's water, basically. You know, it's what you wash your stuff with. I mean, they didn't get it. She's like laughing at them. They're on the bridge with the Colorado River under them. And they even call the Colorado River Ladybird Lake. See, it's this false reality. Let's just name a stretch of the river off of the former First Lady and call it a lake. And you're like, well, what's the big thing there? It's that everything is a stinking lie now. It is an ocean of lies. It is an overthrow of reality. That's what the new March magazine that everybody should subscribe to, big color magazine to wake people up. Buy them in bulk, 10 up to 100. It's probably going to sell out again, so get them, give them to people. And it shows all the government lies and hoaxes. And people that are even awake go, well, that's just what they do. They lie. Yeah, and they're licking their chops now to take your pension funds. I mean, they're going to take everything. America had all this wealth because people would kill you if you tried to push them around. America's had all its problems, and boy, do they get advertised. But compared to any other country, we made more science, more inventions, more patents, more wealth. You got in a war with us. Everybody feared us before we even had high-tech weapons because we were real. We came here through adversity. I don't care what color you are. You came here through adversity. And now the globalists, the social engineers know what Victor Hugo said is true. Adversity makes men, prosperity makes monsters. And I go look at the young people. They are monsters. Unhealthy monsters. I mean, I have a stack of articles here. And I'm going to do a whole special report on what the New World Order master plan is. Where people can't talk now, the IQs are dropping, the language is shrinking, people are getting early onset of Alzheimer's. It's all happening. You know, I've been behind the scenes on Mancow's TV show that's now #1 in Chicago, simulcast with his radio show. And he's even saying to his crew, he's like, get off the smartphones, we're going live in 2 minutes. Everybody, wake up, wake up, wake up. Come on, let's wake up, let's wake up. And I've been in other companies and businesses where they go, all right, we're going to end lunch. Let's keep those smartphones off and let's it work. Let's everybody wake up. That's what they say about all the top companies that are left. The person running it knows everybody's in a trance. It's like, hey, wake up. Come on, wake up. Wake up. And so, because the television is at a flicker rate, training you to go into a mesmerized state. Reading makes your IQ go up, makes your brain connections go up, because you have to visualize. If I say Marilyn Monroe standing on top of that grate with that wind blowing up in her dress, you just had to go find that connection, data retrieve it, and then fire it up. Now it hits other areas of your brain, the image of an attractive woman. But see, with TV, you don't. It's just there. It's just zzz, and it gets rid. You know, like they say most fish have an attention span of a couple minutes. See, you're supposed to have an attention span of hours as a hunter. You're supposed to have long-term memory, that everything. But you don't have a memory because you never accessed it. Radio, you've got to listen and image it, same as reading. Boost IQ. TV, especially mainstream TV, kills it. Well, thank the good Lord above that Dr. Steve Pieczenik got safely back from the DMZ. We have unprecedented fear-mongering going on with North Korea saying we'll nuke Tokyo, we're loading the warheads. I mean, this is insane. And I don't have a theory, I have facts that the best evidence points towards criminal elements in the Anglo-American Dutch Imperium in the Great Game actually telling Kim Jong-un to do this as a promise for oil and food so they can sell weapons. And Pieczenik hinted at this, but when he was in the country, he seemed a little concerned about it until he got back. So we'll find out what he thinks in a moment, and I'll recap that. But first off, I wanted to get to this before we forgot. How the Pentagon used video games to spy on users worldwide, Democracy Now!, they brag that they're watching you over Kinect and Xbox and all this. It's like the last Starfighter. They've actually recruited people to fly drones off of their scores. But this was to then track people and to have it designed for Muslims to pick it up and track everything they're doing. Pretty amazing that they did this with native echo. And so just be aware of that. Here's another one. Hackers use Android to remotely attack and hijack an airplane. And that's out of Computer World. And again, this is just 2 articles today. Here's another one, Zero Hedge. Carmen Reinhardt, no doubt our pensions are screwed. It's being announced everywhere, here and in Europe. The pensions are already gone. I mean, that's why they want your bullets and your guns, folks. They know you're going to be mad. They're going to take the vets' pensions, too. And they've done actuaries knowing a lot of them are going to go haywire over it. And a lot of cops and military are going to get killed, and they're going to try to have a civil war. Instead, let's just all come together, take the states back, triage and write off the derivatives, arrest the globalists, restore the republic. But we're going to talk to Dr. Pieczenik here in a moment. This is a little 3-minute report that Leanne McAdoo put together with Facebook's new home system that ties into all the internet spying I was just talking about, where he calls you dumb effers. He goes, my customers think that they can trust me. You're a bunch of dumb effers, and laughs at you, and then goes to Bilderberg and then does a pump and dump, total scam with the Facebook stock, and he doesn't go to jail because he's in the untouchable club, the white shoe boys, to use the East Coast parlance. And we'll see how untouchable they are. I mean, they think Homeland Security, this new 5th branch of the military, is going to protect them. This 5th branch of tyranny. That isn't rhetoric, by the way. That's what it is. So let's go to this report and then to Dr. Pieczenik to give us his take, what he can really tell us now that he got back being cased by the CIA and others. But here is Leanne McAdoo.
I'm Leanne McAdoo, and this is an InfoWars News Bulletin. Facebook will launch its latest data mining device with the release of Facebook Home on April 12th. The company's new move into the lucrative mobile advertising market comes on the heels of last year's pump and dump scandal, which cost investors billions. The mobile app will first be available to Android users, and according to the site, from the moment you wake your phone, you'll be immersed in cover feed. Before, if you wanted to be inundated with the vacuous status updates of your friends and pictures of their half-eaten breakfast, you had to manually launch the Facebook app. Well, no more. Behold the future. By replacing the unlock and home screen of your phone, the company that's determined to creep into every area of your life can now flood your phone with pictures, chat requests, and suggestions without even needing to be unlocked. With Facebook Home, you're basically authorizing the complete surrender of your privacy. Much like its web-based counterpart that is no stranger to privacy encroachment, Home will collect information like your location, how you connect with friends, what sort of apps you interact with, and your internet searches, in order to personalize the advertising that will besiege your handheld device while it's awake. As we've reported before, Facebook is regularly used by the IRS to scan your account and Twitter feed while conducting audits. Now, if you launch an app via Facebook Home, information about your purchases could be stored and subject to subpoena, much like all the other information Facebook collects on you. law enforcement officials also scour social networks using facial recognition software and have arrested people like this 20-year-old for posting a picture of graffiti to her Facebook-owned Instagram account. Even something as innocent as liking a religious or political page or attending a rally is collected and can be used against you. Why then would anyone want to be smartphone shackled to a social network that's known for mining and collecting data and then providing that information to advertisers and other nefarious systems? Basically, the app signals Facebook's ideal to have you chronically connected to the Facebook interface so it can be the sole data house of citizen intelligence. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg emphasized that home is built around people, not apps, which means that users can spend more time interacting with their friends and families on their smartphones. Well, if by family he means keeping you perpetually connected to Big Brother, Big Sis, and DARPA, well, kudos to you, Zuckerberg. Maybe you were right about your Facebook users. I'm Leanne McAdoo, and this has been an InfoWars News Bulletin.
And for radio listeners, during the pause, we show the headline where he publicly said, "You're a bunch of dumb effers." I mean, and that's the thing. They're laughing at you. They pump and dumped you. Facebook and the CIA was a book of enemies' faces. I mean, even the name, it's just all a giant, sick joke. You say, well, why are you on Facebook? Well, I mean, you know, why do special forces parachute behind enemy lines? I mean, we're there to engage. That's where the fight is. Why are we on YouTube, the big DARPA-run system? Because we're here to bring war against tyranny. Okay? They're waging war on us. We're waging info war on them. And just open up in all directions. Don't overthink your attacks. Just attack in all directions. We will bring them down by force of mass. I mean, their own minions are zombies, folks. Brainwaves are lowered. IQ's dropping under chemical binary attack. All we've got to do is energize, plug into our hardwired instinctive drives that we have enemies running things, and we'll take everything over. They need you focused on them, feeling guilty about yourself for... I'm not going to get into the psychology of it. Let's go to Dr. Steve Pieczenik joining us back in the U.S. He bravely flew over there unannounced and went up to the DMZ, former top hostage negotiator and crisis manager for the State Department and combat veteran in classified operations before that. Helped found the Delta Force with General Boykin. Most of you know who he is. Very interesting guy. He's helped overthrow governments with PSYOPs, you name it. And he joins us. Here's what I wanted to cover with you, just out of the gate, sir, just a quick answer on this. You said it's all a false flag between China, the U.S., North Korea, and others, but, you know, to sell weapons, and that North Korea wants oil and food, and it's not a black box, obviously. Since you talked to us, it turns out there were secret meetings, put that up on screen, guys, Reuters, with the Pentagon, Kim Jong-un, a month ago, before all this started. And I have Rumsfeld, mainstream news articles from 15 years ago up on Infowars.com. Who gave North Korea the nukes in the first place? U.S. government and the CIA. China's massing troops on the border with North Korea, threatening them like they never have before. Is North Korea almost out of China's control? Have they done a flip-flop? You know, like Stalin away from Hitler, or I guess Hitler, you know, cheated him first with their deal in Poland. Is Kim Jong-un actually being manipulated, or will he be double-crossed, now threatening to nuke Tokyo? I mean, am I wrong, sir, in saying this is unprecedented? Dr. Steve Pieczenik joining us.
No, not Alex. First of all, let me congratulate you. I came here to San Francisco, and believe it or not, I was at Berkeley last night. And you are a hero in a left-wing organization called Berkeley University. So you have really reached out across the spectrum. Alex, I'm very proud of you. Let me get right out to the point. Number one, Kim Jong-un is not relevant. The entire issue here has to do with dynamics. It has to do with dynamics of the United States, Japan, China, Russia, and Southeast Asia. Kim Jong-un is not out of control, not at all. All he is doing is expressing the dynamic of trying to get more food, more oil, and more subsistence from the United States, Japan, and other countries, because this is a weak nation. It's a nation that's falling apart. It's what we call a failed state. For the most part, we've kept that nation alive so that we wouldn't implode South Korea because it was too poor. But in reality, we're keeping it there to justify the use of our naval fleet in South China Sea, and an excuse to use a lot of our military equipment as a test ground for the Navy, the Marine, and the Air Force. The reality is that Kim Jong-un is not even relevant. He's really just following directions according to his aunt, his uncle, and the China handler from China, as well as the understanding that he has had with the CIA, the DIA, the DNI, because he's lived 13 years in Switzerland. So, you know, all of our intelligence operatives know him very, very well. All he's done now is to really just bluster a lot of words. There is no nuclear missiles that can do anything whatsoever. The South Koreans, when I left, were mocking America. They thought we were absolutely stupid.
So was that report leaked on purpose? Because I understand they do have some atomic devices and some smaller missiles that might be able to deliver them to Seoul or Japan, but you're saying that's even baloney.
That's baloney. Basically, every country has atomic devices. Let me put it this way. Pakistan has 107 tactical nuclear weapons that we developed between the CIA, the ISI, and Mr. Khan in order to create a strategic tension force. And you've never seen Pakistan use it. Instead, we talk about Iran. So
sure, and then our media acts like it was an accident.
He has no capacity to hit anything whatsoever, but we make it, you use it as an excuse to deploy our troops into South China Sea, to deploy them into Australia. You remember the meeting between Obama and Hillary in Myanmar during the time that we were in Syria, and I said to myself, this was very unusual. So this was all pre-planned as a way of not necessarily having a false flag, but having a point of strategic tension so that the president once again could incompetently handle or not handle a situation that would put him in the history books. Remember, a president of the United States can do nothing domestically. He has already damaged our economy and Obamacare, but now internationally he has created another situation.
So it's more narcissism where all I see...
There will be no nuclear missiles in this one. It will not be effective.
So, I mean, I turn on CNN. All it is former Clinton and Obama people now with their own TV shows. This is just mad narcissism.
Well, it's beyond mad narcissism. What it is it's out of control. What it is really criminal behavior. And really, this is where the American public, your public, the entire public, the Berkeley public has to say, cease and desist. Because what we are in fact doing is I came back here in San Francisco, I see more homeless people. I see more beggars. I see poorer infrastructure that mirrors more like North Korea than it does South Korea. In some ways, I feel when I come to San Francisco and downtown when I see all these bums who are supported and under...
oh, it's rotting. America is rotting.
The great liberals. I feel I'm more in North Korea than I am in South Korea, where there's wealth, there's control, and there's prosperity. So we've become very much like North Korea. We're mimicking the North Korean reaction, and we're mimicking a North Korean economy, which is going downhill, militarily controlled, and no financial capacity to grow from manufacturing the way South Korea can. So the irony is we're becoming more and more like North Korea and less like South Korea.
All right, let me stop you. You've said Rumsfeld's really bad news. He seems to commence...
Rumsfeld's a criminal. Rumsfeld's not just bad news. I've known Rumsfeld since he was a Secretary of Defense under Nixon. No one liked him. He was a dangerous man then. He had a very little understanding of strategic and tactical war. He was a very...
Well, look at what he did with Iraq. But let's just stop right there. Let me just bring this up to you here. And I want to ask you what's changed, because neocons were still defending Iraq just a few years ago. Now they admit it was a disaster. But let me raise this. We have the article at Infowars.com, who gave North Korea the nukes in the first place, and it links to BBC, AP, Reuters from 15 years ago and 10 years ago when Clinton and others and the UN transferred reactors in North Korea that are perfect for making atomic, the enriched uranium for atomic bombs. Why would the West want to give that hermit empire the ability to make atomic bombs? And then here we are being told we got to have TSA do proctology exams on our wife because bin Laden might be up there. But at the same time, the globalists have given atomic weapons to these morons.
Well, it's a very good question, Alex. I was part indirectly of a meeting on that, and I was against it. The reason that was done, because Clinton again, Bill Clinton and Hillary are not very competent. Most of our leaders aren't. It was in an attempt to appease the North Korean by giving them a concessionary point where we would control some form of nuclear reactor which was under our control, and it was in a sequestered package. So honestly, we did give them a controlled, quasi-private, public, underwritten nuclear capacity to keep them quiet. But truthfully, it was incompetence writ large. We are completely incompetent in the way we handle foreign affairs and domestic affairs. What's happening is, again, we've gone into wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and now we are basically incompetently handling
Why
Iraq.
are they putting out reports? I mean, it looks like they did it on purpose. Oh, we didn't mean to leak that. Oh, it's quasi-secret to say that they've got weapons and can deliver them.
No, they have no weapons to deliver it. Let me give you the following.
Why did they leak that then?
A man who's totally incompetent, ex-Air Force General James Clapper, who I have no idea what he does, was put in there by Feinstein and a whole group after 9/11, is head of the Director of National Intelligence, which means absolutely nothing. Another confusing aspect. Then you have the head of the CIA, John Brennan, who we know is totally incompetent and created a lot of the false flag. Then we have on top of that the head of DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, Mike Flynn, a general, who really doesn't know anything. Then above that, you have the National Geospatial Agency, another intelligence organization that know nothing. Now, you put together 5 different military intelligence organizations with 1 civilian, put together a White House with incompetent little neophytes and children, and you get groupthink of ignorance. And then they come out with an analysis that has no relevance to the real world. And then you go to Seoul, Korea, and everybody's laughing at you. You go to Japan, everybody's laughing at you.
Exactly. So let me expand on this then, because we've seen this with Hitler going east. We see this with Nero. We see this happen where they go crazy in their own echo chambers. Now they're admittedly getting caught in lies everywhere.
Correct.
Their plans to try a domestic takeover, that's not going to work. I mean, I agree with you, because I'm not normally it's an incompetence deal, it's a tyranny deal. They think they're in control. They're not, which even makes them more dangerous.
That's correct. What's happening is the more and more you think you're in control and the greater the complexity of the system in the United States as we add more and more intelligence services which have no idea of what they're doing, and it's costing us a fortune. When you have 800,000 contractors with top secret levels, and I see CIA operatives in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel and special forces and rangers who have no idea what their strategy is, no idea of the rules of engagement.
They're just wandering around acting powerful because they've all been programmed by the TV, designed to neutralize the public. Instead, it's neutralized them. Oh, my God. We'll be right back. It's zombie apocalypse. Stay with us. All right, final segment, the official broadcast here. Restreams at Infowars.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. We also have video streaming at Roku, Boxy, and a bunch of other systems. When you're a PrisonPlanet.tv member, you can see it all, the nightly news, the special reports, the films. Become a PrisonPlanet.tv member today, and 1 username passcode, create a generic one. 11 people simultaneously can be logged on anywhere in the world with that code. And most people aren't going to end up using it all the time, so you can probably give it to 20, 30 people. Operation Awaken the Sleeping Giant. Be sure to share your username and passcode. Make sure it's unique with friends and family. We're also going to create a new function where we can buy them in bulk, discounted as well, and people can create their own username passcode. But PrisonPlanet.tv, you are the resistance, and you're helping us get the word out by the books, the videos, the high-quality water filters, the best stuff. We carry it all at InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139. You can also find all the great work of Dr. Steve Pieczenik and the books he's co-written with Tom Clancy and others at his site, StevePieczenik.com. Steve, we only got a few minutes left. In closing, more and more, I mean, I've got to hear from Harvard University. Let's show this document here to TV viewers. The decline of average human IQ. It's plunging very, very quickly right now. A lot of that's chemical, but also people aren't ever challenging their brains, TV. More and more people are in like a trance. I mean, you can go out to man on the street and say, hey, we nuked China 2 weeks ago and killed 10 million people. Do you think that's a problem? And people go, no, it's not a problem. There's an actual man on the street. We have posted at Infowars.com where Mark Dice went out and they said that. I mean, either people are more awake or they're not. And And what do you call this? You're a top psychiatrist, not a quack or, the real deal. What is happening societally? What do you call it? Because I've been to high security events, and I've watched Secret Service, Special Forces as well. They tend to be more focused and have eye contact and seem to be not on a power trip. But when somebody's in a narcissistic, talking into their sleeve, feeling like when a kid thinks they're Superman in a costume and strutting around. I see that in the leaders as well. I mean, it's really sad, and it's like Nero or something. What do you call that, and where is it going, and where do you see North Korea ending up in this latest?
Total sociopathy and criminal behavior. Ever since Clinton, Bush Jr. should have been tried for criminal activity and prosecuted, and Obama should be prosecuted for criminal activity as well. And hopefully we can stop this, but this is where the American public has to decide. Are they going to continue with this kind of republic of sociopathy? Are they going to change it forcibly, or
if we don't change it, how bad will it get?
What?
How bad will it get if it keeps going down this course?
It will get very bad. We will end up to be, and we are ending up to be, a third world country with basically a republic that's dysfunctional like North Korea, but an empire that's like Rome, an imperial empire which will not function very well. Our military is totally dissociated from our civilian, and our manufacturing capacity is totally geared to military. We have failed very miserably at leadership domestically and failed miserably in international leadership. So we have really violated the precepts of our founding fathers, and we are in serious, serious trouble.
Why did you get out so quick? You said you were being followed quite a bit, and CIA...
No, I got out quickly because I'd gotten into Korea, I got into North Korea, and basically what happened is, after a while, it was getting to be very quickly consumed by CIA contract officers and military Rangers, Delta Force, and you could see that the place was being... South Korea was being rammed up by all kinds of irrelevant military and intelligence assets that really were not going to be relevant, and were...
it's just delusional. It does nothing, but it just... I'm going to do 5 more minutes with you to ask you.
Yeah.
Because you talked about talking to some of them and getting into North Korea. I want to hear about this with Dr. Steve Pieczenik when we come back in just 1 minute for that little bit of overdrive. Some stations don't carry it, but it's in audio streams at Infowars.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. It's in the Alex Jones Show link there at Infowars.com and our backup site, PrisonPlanet.com. Spread the word on the site. Defeat the enemy. Wow, Dr. Steve Pieczenik, former top hostage and crisis negotiator for the State Department, worked in black ops across the board with the military. You were just saying you got into North Korea. Tell us about that, because I know we were calling your hotel right there, close to the DMZ.
I'm born in the United States, and I have another passport which allows me to get into this country in and out. I was able to see certain aspects of the industrial complex, some of the military, and quite frankly, they're not out of control. There's nothing crazy about them. They seem to be very much in control. It's a highly controlled society, as you would expect, a third world nation that was very much like a communist as a Romania or Bulgaria 30, 40 years ago. But what you hear is that they don't take themselves all that seriously. And really what's happening is that at the senior level, you're getting this kind of warmongering in order to force the United States and China and England or Japan to come to the table in order to give Korea a chance to have some food, subsistence, and money. But truthfully, North Korea is not as bad as everybody thinks. Number one, they're exporting bauxite. Number two, they're exporting minerals and other products. They're doing exceedingly better than most people would realize.
Now, you were involved with North Korea's son when you were in the State Department.
Yes, I was involved with his father, Kim Jong-il, and then Kim Il-sung. Kim Jong-il was quite a smart man. He was very much like what I was doing at that time. He was an executive producer of television shows. He was very creative, very funny. But our intelligence system in the State Department and elsewhere insisted on calling him a crazy man wearing high heels, when in fact he was a very smart man running 2.2 million people in Korea in the military with antiquated equipment, antiquated Soviet military, and no military is going to cross over the DMZ line. They don't have the...
You're talking about the grandfather?
They don't have the fuel. They don't have the food. So it's not going to happen. What happened, in effect, is a dramatic situation which should never have happened because of our intelligence, if we had any, that should have been prevented, kept at a very low-key level, and instead we mirror-imaged it and precipitated it through the incompetence of our president, incompetence of
but they're doing it for a false flag. They don't think they're incompetent. But I mean, you're saying it could lead to something that would cause Korea to implode into both China and South Korea. The Chinese are taking it very seriously.
Yes, because the deficit in all of this, the greatest problem will not be really for South Korea, because South Korea can maintain it with the Republic of Korean Army and also the fact that they're very wealthy. What cannot take it and is not capable of handling economically is Li Jae-pong, the new technocrat. He's not a good leader of China. The Chinese cannot handle the North Koreans coming over the border in massive amounts, and they're 22 million, because the Chinese now have an economic problem, they have a food problem, they have a water problem, and they have a financial problem. They cannot handle a swath of 22 million.
All right, well, here's my final question then.
The border, as if they came over the border from Mexico into Arizona, and they cannot handle that. It's far more of a danger to China than it is to South Korea or anybody else. It has no danger whatsoever.
We've only got 1 minute left, Doc. We only got 1 minute left. How do you expect all this to end? Because it looks like it's just escalating.
We come to a negotiated settlement, and we'll do an appeasement. Once again, Kerry, who's not a very effective Secretary of State, will sit down, we'll give him some money, we'll give him some food, and once again, there'll be some kind of appeasement, and it will continue. South Korea will grow, China will fall apart, North Korea will actually, ironically, grow in many ways if they'll open up the Jisung industrial complex, and more, 54,000 of the North Koreans will continue to work, and they will get more currency, and eventually, within 5 to 10 years, North Korea will be integrated, what's called on a soft landing with South Korea. Hopefully, we will get rid of our intelligence, our military, and a lot of our incompetent leaders and our incompetent military.
Or instead, Homeland Security will try to just conquer America, because that's what it's doing. We're the real country they're trying to conquer. Dr. Pieczenik, StevePieczenik.com. Thank you for all the time. I'll be back Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central, live.